Okay, hello everybody. So tonight I'm going to keep working on my starter. I got my bushing back. My machinist friend there, a buddy of mine, he made this out of white brass. It should have been oil light brass, but you know, for a generator, I should have had him make me two, but you know, if he'd have made me two, I would have taken the extra one and I would have put it away somewhere and I would have forgotten where I put it. So better that I just have one. Here's the old brass bushing right here. It's what's left of it. I had a little paper thin piece. You know, I had a couple of the other two pieces. It came in 3 pieces when I pulled it out. Yeah, it's pretty well had it. So, there's the armature. I got the armature back. He had the armature. And the drive's in good shape. So that goes on right there. Needs a good polishing up. You can see there's quite a bit of pitting there. I don't know if you can see that. So starter is a closed motor. There's no ventilation to the outside. So any shrapnel, you know, as it starts to wear, the dust and debris just kind of flies around as this thing spins. And basically it takes out, the more shrapnel there is, the more debris floating around there, the shorter the life of the starter. It's just going to keep floating around and taking out everything in its path. Kind of like an avalanche on a mountain. And the snow at the very top of the mountain, as it's traveling down, it's knocking loose all the snow below. So that's the same thing as a starter. The debris that, a little bit of wear and tear, it just keeps floating around and floating around and floating around and taking everything out. So when it does go, you know, you open one of these up and there's probably, almost can't recognize anything in there because there's so much dust and debris. So I gave it a good cleaning. I'm going to go over it with a bristle brush of some kind, probably a plastic bristle brush, not a wire brush, and give it a good cleaning and blow it out with the compressor really good. One last time before assembly. I got to clean up these terminals right here. The brushes, contact that. That's another thing that there's wear. The brushes wear, and the debris from the brushes float around there. You can see there's a little metal divot there. It's like a lineup device. So as you put this in, it's got to line up with the, and there's a line on the outside, right with the that's the positive terminal for the starter. So then that won't rotate now, it's locked in there. And the other end, okay, this is where you got to start paying attention, because the other end, it's got a little groove right here. And that's for water drainage. Any moisture that gets inside the starter would drain out there. So I know that this starter is kind of positioned like this. The terminal's down a little bit on the bottom side. So you've got to make sure that this little drain and the bolts line up like that. So you need to make sure that drain goes on the bottom side, because it can go two different ways. You can go like this, or you can go like this. And if the water drains at the top, it's not going to work. Another thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this little groove here. I'm going to go over it again with the wire brush. I'm going to put a little bit of grease around here, or silicone paste. I think I might use silicone paste right around this groove, and same with the other end. And that's going to that'll help keep moisture out. I'm going to try not to get any on the outside, because I want to give it a coat of paint. I'm just going to give it some fast dry black and reassemble it. Get the drive wheel on, and then tonight I'll have all that done. give it a shot of paint. Tape up everything that I don't want paint on. And tomorrow night I'll install it on the generator. And I want the generator back in the motorhome within a few days. So. And another thing I'm working on, this thing right here. Now my son came home one day, he asked for a computer, an old computer, bring to school and dismantle it for, they learn how things go together and so on. So he brought home something similar to this, totally different shape, but something similar to this. And my wood splitter is, basically it's a hydraulic pump and a cylinder with one control lever. And it gets so hot you can't put your hand on it. So I bought, when he brought the last one like this home, and it's got to be about 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I took it and I smeared some JB Weld on here, or it was 2-part epoxy, I can't remember. And I clamped it onto the oil tank on the wood splitter. And I'm telling you, when that thing got hot, you put your hand out here and you could feel the heat coming off these little blades, these little fins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sawzall or something and I'm going to cut this off, this little square piece. Not that I have to, but because right now I've got a very small area to glue. And the one that I glued on about 5 years ago, within a year or two, something bumped it and it fell off. So I re-glued it back on. But this one, just to get a bigger area of glue surface, I want to machine down these 2 little bumps right here. These 2, and my milling machine could just level that right off flat. And then I'd have this entire surface here to glue to the tank. And I'm going to glue that right beside the other one. And I'll show you that. That's future episode. The last video I had showed this LED bulb, $4 little bulb. These used to be $16, $18 a few years ago. And it shows you that you should save $83. I believe that you could save $83 if it lasted this many years. I don't know who's counting those years, but I bet you this thing will completely self-destruct before that. Probably the LEDs won't burn out, but the entire plastic housing here will probably disintegrate, fall apart. So what I should do is just take a pair of scissors and cut this out, date it somewhere, take a pen and date the date I put it in, and take a marker and mark on here, and just keep track. Maybe in 13 years I'll do a second video on this bulb and prove that if either it does last 13.7 years or it doesn't. But the other extreme is this halogen bulb. Now this is 72 watts equivalent. It's supposed to have the brightness of a 100-watt bulb, and it's supposed to save you $7.88 per estimated energy cost. So it's supposed to use $7.88 per year. 1,490 lumens. So you save 28% on your energy costs. But this bulb is a total opposite of this one here. I mean, this is a halogen. You probably cook an egg on this if you put a frying pan on top of it. And this one here, you can put your arm right against it, like I did the other day. The very tender part of your skin right there is very tender. I put my arm on the trouble light, and even with the cage on the trouble light, which I didn't directly touch the bulb, but I got a good little red spot right there. But if you use these in a shop, in summertime it's bright till the sun doesn't go down till 9 o'clock at night, and if you're only turning these on at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, I don't work out here till 11 o'clock every night, so I don't really like the fact that they give off heat in the summertime when you don't want heat in here. But those winter months, December, January, February, if they're giving off a bit of heat, I'm heating this space anyway, so that's kind of a benefit. even though you have to buy electricity, but it's what they call a neutral. It's energy neutral. That's what a fridge is. A fridge is energy neutral. Whatever heat it gives off to keep your house warm in the winter is keeping your food cold. So it's a trade-off. So putting your food out in the snowbank, or even bringing bottles of water, frozen ice and stuff into the house to put in a cooler instead of using a fridge, you're not really, every time you open the door you're going to lose heat, so you're not benefiting at all. And that's basically what this is, energy neutral. What you should do is unscrew all these in the springtime when the hot summers come and put them away and start using these. I mean, who's going to do that? But if you keep in mind winter months, this is actually keeping your shop warm. It's not such a bad deal. Okay, so I bought this. It's a Tessa, Swiss made. I didn't know anything about Tessa. This was on the local internet site for sale, and the guy wanted. Well, he sold me a bunch of tools, but this one here I think I paid $20 for, and it's a really good. It's good quality. It was calibrated last time in 2002. No, it's due in 2002. It was calibrated in 2001. So 15 years ago it was calibrated. There's his name. And he worked in a inspection facility. He was an inspector, and these tools never got used. He used his tools that were supplied by the workplace. So he said he did use them when he first started working. And then they've been sitting in his garage for the last 20 years. This is probably a 30-year-old linear dial caliper, and I mean, it is so smooth. It works so nice. I just find that the feel in your hand, it's really good quality. It's got some weight to it. It's fairly solid here, and I really like it. And for $20, you know, there's lots of guys out there in their 50s, late 50s, early 60s. They haven't done any machining work in years, and this stuff is laying around in their garage, and they're just waiting to sell it. So you can pick these up, and I bought a Mitutoyo almost identical to this, and I don't really like it that much. It seems fairly cheap. Although there are probably 10 different quality Mitutoyo, and you know, Starrett are, you know, pretty well the top of the line, but I find Starrett are overpriced for what you get. So this one here, Tessa, seems like a real bargain compared to anything else there on the market. So if you see one of these for sale, don't be shy to pick it up. Now I bought some sandpaper. P60. You can tell by the print on here that this stuff is absolute garbage. I think if I sanded my nails with this, it would just disintegrate. So I'm going to start buying 3M sandpaper. I won't be buying this anymore. But this is a bargain. This is Scotch Brite. There's the brand name right there. And I find that for $1.50, I think I paid $1.50 or $1.75 for a sheet of this. You can take a pair of scissors and cut a strip off, or do whatever you want. And this is a real bargain. Now I saw a YouTube video where another YouTube guy, he bought one of these Scotch Brite wheels for his bench grinder, and he bought it on Amazon, I think. Well, I went to the local welding supply store, and I went to the high-end store that sells top-of-the-line tools to tradesmen, not off-the-street guys, and they didn't have that wheel, and they didn't know what I was talking about, so they're not carrying it yet, but I think it's something that's going to catch on, and I wish I had one tonight because I would use it to clean up those surfaces on the armature. So what I'll have to do is, I'm going to have to do it by hand. So this little surface here, I'm just going to use a Scotch-Brite and go around and polish it up. Now I'm going to do this surface, and I'm going to do this back here, and this. Then I'm going to put a little dab of grease on and reassemble this. You can see that back here, the surface is kind of original, but up here you can see it's shiny metal, and that's what's been hitting. It's been striking the as the bearing wore out. You can see that the bearing would have been right up here in this top cap. As it wore, it allowed the armature to move back and forth, and it was able to strike the magnet right here. And it broke a chunk off here, and it cracked a piece over here, and you can see the shiny surface inside the magnet that it wore the basically polished this outside metal. So anyway, I'll get all that done. I think it was still working. It was still starting the generator. It would miss the ring gear on the flywheel. Sometimes it would just spin, and you just wait to give it a second or two and try it again, and then it would start. But now with the new bushing, that's the problem, was the bushing. It should be okay. And a little dab of grease on there, it should last for quite a few years. Okay. Well, I went over that with the Scotch-Brite. I'm really impressed with that Scotch-Brite. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's better than sandpaper. So I've polished this part here. It's still got some pitting in it, but it's much smoother than it was. I've done this whole part here, this whole shaft. I did the copper terminals back here, and I did the little surface here. So this is the generator that starter goes on. I don't know if you can see that, but the airflow all goes back here to the. Usually one of these motors, the air blows out this way. So these RV generators work the opposite, and there's a little chamber for the air to flow out the bottom. So the air is discharged straight out the bottom. It's supposed to dissipate away from the RV. Alright, so the only thing I got left to do now is I want to go over this black area here with the belt sander. The rest turned out pretty good. And so the paint sticks a little better. And then I'm gonna really clean it all clean, and it's really important that the inside is clean. If there's any debris in there, it's gonna stay in there forever, and it's just gonna keep flying around. I'm taking out that new brass bushing I had made. So I'll clean that up on the belt sander. I'll show you my belt sander I just bought at a garage sale. Okay, so I bought this belt sander at a garage sale for $40, and it's a Canwood. There's many different manufacturers that make a sander like this. This part here is cast iron, but up here it's a little flimsy. Even the table's very flimsy, but I can live with that. For $40. This one I bought earlier in the summer for $40, and it's a homemade device. Seems to work all right. Makes a lot of noise, but it's a good sander. Cast iron table. It's I think that's an old table saw. You can see it probably was like a 7-inch table saw or something. It's got the little T-square. Nice through there. This didn't come with a T-square, but this fits exactly in here. I don't know if I really need it, but it's there. And I've got to get a little sanding disc for here. But for $40, I got $80 tied up in these two things, and the base came with it. Everything you see here came for $40 each. 40 for this, 40 for this entire round thing here. and I can live with that. So here she goes. There you go. That looks like a brand new